Welcome into another installment of the JPJ Report. Alongside Director of News Content with VirginiaSports.com, I am the voice of the Cavaliers, Dave Koehn. And Jeff, last time we talked, we were going into the season kind of waiting to see what we had in this Virginia basketball team here going into 2016 and 17. Well, now we've had a chance to unwrap the presents a little bit, so to speak, and we've got a little bit better of a feel for what we've seen. So far, 9 games down, 8 wins, 1 loss, a rare home loss for this team. We've seen the good, we've seen the bad. At times, we've seen the ugly. Not too much of that so far, though. What's been your overall impression through these first 9 games of non-conference?
Well, one thing we saw at the beginning of the season that we no longer see is Austin Nichols, and he's no longer with the program, and that's a big loss. And I think the team has had to learn to play without him, and for the most part, that's gone pretty well. But this is a different team, as you know, than Coach Bennett thought he would have going into it.
Yeah, one of the things that you obviously lose with an Austin Nichols void is that back-to-the-basket scorer. There's been much talk about that over the 2 games Virginia played going into the last game against East Carolina. We saw Virginia get outscored by 26 points collectively in the paint in those 2 games. Last time out, though, against East Carolina, Virginia outscores a pretty big East Carolina team by that same margin in the paint. So it all leaves you to wonder. We knew Tony Bennett and his staff was going to have to try and find a way to reinvent this team a little bit with a different flavor, minus Anthony Gill, minus Mike Tobey. How do you go about that process, maybe when the shots aren't falling, to get some of those inside looks?
The big men are going to have to do it by committee. Coach Bennett said that after the East Carolina game. All those guys have had good moments. You got Mamadi Diakite, Jack Salt, Isaiah Wilkins has been very steady, Jared Reuter, but you do not have that one back to the basket, Anthony Gill, Mike Tobey, or Austin Nichols. So it's a different team. There are very strong perimeter players on this team. We've seen that. We saw it against East Carolina. Kyle Guy can shoot. London Parentes can shoot. Devin Hall can shoot. Darius has shot well. Darius Thompson. So I think the team is still trying to find its identity, and it's going to get tougher going forward because the competition is going to get tougher.
Yeah, in being a team that relies on a shot that can shoot the ball well, in many ways can be a double-edged sword. We saw that against East Carolina. Virginia starts that game 1 for 9 from beyond the arc. They hit their next 7 3-pointers, however. And in a nutshell, that's what this team has been throughout this season early on. It's been a little bit of feast or famine, and so when that happens, I guess the challenge becomes, where do your points come from? And from Tony Bennett's perspective, obviously he'll tell you that's why the defense has to be consistent. What have you seen from that side from Virginia defensively this year? Some new wrinkles with some shot blockers inside.
I think it's been good. It's still too early to tell how good this defense is going to be. I remember last year the defense really struggled early on, and by the end of the season it was characteristically sound defensively, but there are some shot blockers, which has not always been the case. Mamadi has shown he can do that. Isaiah blocks shots. Jack Salt is a big body in the lane who can stop people around the basket. So, I think we're still finding out about this team defensively, but they pay as much attention to it as they always have in practice. I have no doubt it's going to be, a very good defensive team.
One of the other things we talked quite a bit about coming into the season was the new roles for players. Players like Mariel Shayok, Isaiah Wilkins, players like Darius Thompson. But one of the guys who's really facing a new role this season in a lot of ways is London Parentes. He's the guy that you lean on really all season long. You will continue to, but he's been such a distributor throughout his career who's been leaned on to make some big shots at key times, which he's done. However, this season, for the first time in his career, he's a marked man, and he's been seen the #1 defender throughout the season instead of maybe the number 2, number 3 guy for the opposition. What kind of an impact do you feel like it's had on his play so far? And it'll be interesting to see how he evolves as he continues to adjust to that new role.
And I think he's still adjusting to that. He admitted as much after the West Virginia game. He's not used to being the focal point of opposing defenses, and that takes some getting used to. He's a very talented offensive player. I think his mindset has had to change a little bit too. He cannot just defer. He probably needs to be looking to make shots from start to finish now, picking his spots, but he doesn't need to defer, and they probably can't afford to have him defer. You mentioned Mariel Shayok. He's really thriving in the 6-man role. He looks very comfortable coming in and providing instant offense. He's good in that role. He's one of the best players on the team at creating his own shot in the lane, and that's a skill not everyone on this team has.
Yeah, well, it is the final exams break while the guys get into the books. A chance for us to break this thing down. As Mamadi Diakite told me, it's going down right now in the classroom for the guys. Again, the Cavaliers will be off all the way until December the 17th when they'll play host to Robert Morris. That'll be the next time here at John Paul Jones Arena. Just 2 more non-conference games before the ACC schedule ultimately tips off on December 27th. For now, that'll do it. For Jeff White, I'm Dave Koehn. Thanks for joining us.